Sci-Fi, science fiction.
So, Sci-Fi.
I was like, hey, let's stop with the MBTI for a minute. Let's talk about something else. So we're going to talk about science fiction because I noticed as an NI Dom. So we are going to talk about, actually, I lied. We're going to talk about MBTI, but it's going to be like, it's like I want to take real world things. I want to take stuff, not real world, but stuff about us, or me at least, and tell you more about myself, share hobbies, share things that I like, things that resonate with me. And then maybe not, tie it into the MBTI, the psychology of it. And no, it will, because I plan on talking about it. Because to me, growing up my entire life, I've been into Marvel, I've been into X-Men, and then it's like I'm not a big Star Wars or Star Trek fan, but they're cool movies. I don't hate them. But I've always been into science fiction. I've always been into more like sort of fantasy things. I played video games since the Atari days, actually ColecoVision rather. And it's just something that's really fascinating to me. And some, like, just recently, because we're doing MBTI stuff, I was like, really, why? I mean, why are certain people into certain things? And I was thinking, the thought path was like, are introverts interested in different things than extroverts? Well, I always think of like SE DOMs as playing sports. Sounds very stereotypical, but it's like, statistically, you can't deny it, and it's like, I suppose perhaps a joke that introverts do certain things. Like, they're probably more likely to play video games, or probably more likely to maybe be movie buffs or something like this, or build, doing like doing little like what is it called? Like, I do it, like building little plastic models and things, like just stuff that you do at home and it's fun. And so for me, it's like, it's all futuristic. And I was like, why is it I'm so obsessed with the future? Well, and this is what I'm going to tell you. It's like introverted, intuitive. That's all I do. Like, when you're born, you have your hero function, right? It's like the first thing that's like, naturally occurring. And so for me, it's exactly that. It's NI. And it's like, all that really is exploring the future. Like, there's nothing else to it. Or it's not that it's nothing else to it. It's just like, that's what that is. And so of course I'm fascinated with what's going to happen, because that's literally what I'm like planning out always, now, and eventually, obviously, I'll give you a chance to talk. I mean, you being a TI Dom, it's like, well, you might be interested in science fiction as well, perhaps for different reasons, and I'm curious to know what those might be. Yeah, so this is like a planned, unplanned thing. It's like, honestly, this was like a few days ago. I was just like, I don't know, I've been working really hard on an app, and it's like every moment that I'm not working on it, I'm just in outer space. And I feel like this is what makes it so that I can balance the TE or the extroverted thinking with the NI and stuff. It's just like, I don't know, I just go through these moments where I'm like really, really intensely interested in stuff that I have always been interested in, but like there's these moments where I'm just like, I don't care. I don't have time for it. Yeah. And so I just was exploring the cyberpunk world, and I mean, there's a lot of, we work in tech, and there's just a lot of observations I make. And I think because we're looking towards the future and trying to plan out a lot of different things, I'm constantly looking for patterns, and I'm looking for, where's the world going? Like, I feel like it's my destiny to know this.
Where is the world going?
Where's the, I don't know how to put that precisely. And I look at, what do I know? What do I know about the world? What is a little bit of past, looking at the statistics. What do I see? I see companies, I see the 90s happening, I see the internet happening, and I see companies that were like garage companies, like Apple, or whatever, turning into these massive conglomerates and buying up everything. And what does that sound like? Well, it sounds exactly like what you see in movies in the 80s, in the 90s, and now, and like all these, like, I'm trying to think of the examples, like, this is what I mean. It's like, I was like thinking all these cool examples when I'm by myself. It's like the moment I'm on a camera, I can't remember anything. I might have something listed here. Actually, I think I do.
That's good.
I will. No, you're not on top. No, you're not talking in a second. My point is, the things that, like Blade Runner. I mean, of all things, this is the most cliche one out of all of them. But like, I have other little more niche things. But like, Blade Runner is like, AI and all this stuff. It's like, that's actually not the best thing. It's just like this dystopian idea of like high tech, low life. And it's like, everybody right now, I'm jumping all over the place. Everybody right now is like high tech. Let's just build tech. It's like our lives are gonna be better. Everything's gonna be easier. It's like we need to build AI. It's great. Why? I don't know, but it's what we need to do because that's the future. But all I see, because think about it, I saw that 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I was feeling what everyone's feeling now. Then, now I'm already looking way further than that. I'm seeing your lives are gonna be miserable. Now this is not me being pessimistic. I'm excited about it. That's what's weird to me. And that's why I thought I was very compelled to share this. Because it's like, I see what's going to happen. And I feel like eventually these corporations are getting bigger and bigger if they remain unchecked. This is not me promoting anything political, by the way. Because that's another thing I realized. I will just side with whatever I feel is necessary for the future. So like 1 minute I might sound like a conservative, next minute it's like, well, it's pretty liberal of you, Derek. It's like, yeah, because that's what I know we need. Anyway, I don't know. It's like, what's next? Like, having your own, like, what is it called? Like private security, like, gunning people down in the streets when they try to come into your corporation. It's just like, I see all this stuff happening, and just governments being like the tech companies becoming the government. I want to give you a chance to reflect on anything I've said so far before I keep going. So it's like, that's the thing that I like to think about. That's what a lot of my free time is spent on, is where are we going? Wow, I can't wait to see the whole world crash and burn.
Well, I can hear many things. But I only have one question right now, which is, would you say that is perhaps the unspoken question often asked by NI, which is, where are we going? Is that the question that you're always looking to get a better view on?
Yeah, it's actually not we. It's really just where going. If I had to turn it into a sentence, it's not a complete sentence. It's like,
we're going.
What not now, but what in the future? What's the future?
What's the future?
In fact, who asked this question? There was a philosopher, or something that asked a weird question like this. Yeah, it's like, what's the future? Yeah. Simply put. So it's like, sure, we are part of it, but what is we? Like, this doesn't matter to NI.
So would you say that when you play these games and when you engage with sci-fi, are you feeding your desire to look into the future?
Yeah, it's that whole abstract part. It's like, because it's so fascinating that to see, because these people are doing the same thing. They must be some sort of intuitive on some basis. If they're not, that's really interesting. I can't think of the writer right now, but he wrote Neuromancer. Like, he didn't know anything at all about computers, and yet if you read that book, it's like, you would think that he's lived his whole life just inside of a computer, because what he did is something I don't remember exactly, but he did William Gibson. Mm-hmm. He basically just kind of observed people talking. He said, like, that's the first time I ever heard the word interface used as a verb. This was I don't remember. I don't know, it was like 70s or 80s when he wrote the bloody book, but it was just that kind of thing. He was so compelled to understand what was going on. And he ended up writing.
Interesting.
And I remember it was like, he didn't make any money, so it was like something like, it was just like, very troubling story about how him writing this book or whatever. And then like it turned out, like, I think 6.5 million, just a huge amount of copies sold. Like, it's the most sold, I guess, what is it, like maybe cyberpunk sort of this genre of stories, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing. What was the exact question? It was like, you play this game. Oh yeah, the abstract.
Are you doing this? Are you doing this to focus your NI, to feed your NI? Are you using it to NI?
Yes and no. I suppose it's obviously entertainment to an extent, but it's like, what is NI? It's a large portion of it, I suppose, is imagination.
Oh, okay.
And so I get to see, it's like slightly guided imagination, but I also will go, that's never gonna happen, or that could happen. It's like, I don't know. It's like candy for my NI. It's like just giving it some sweets. It's like, it's not that healthy, but it certainly gives it energy. If I can use a really odd analogy.
I see.
Yeah. It's just super cool. Like, I just like this kind of thing. I just like robots. I like the idea of tech just getting out of control, even though, like, in the real world I hate it. It's like, it's weird. So like, I actually equate it to some sort of shadow, something about me that, like, is just being shoved in my face, and it's like I both enjoy it and hate it at the same time.
Interesting. Yeah. I want to speak to something here. um, which is, so I've just recently read a book by Jung, and Jung has noticed, or a lot of Jung and a lot of people in his way of thinking, they were influenced by the physics discoveries of the time, which was quantum mechanics, and so they used that to like come up with the next level of like psychology. And what I've noticed in a lot of books I've read is that certain advances in a certain area of society influences the way people think about other things. So you're talking about interfacing, like as they learn about computers, they think about themselves as computers in the same way. And you can say like garbage in, garbage out. Like, oh, let me make sure that I teach you the right thing so that you can think the right thing.
Yeah, it's actually that. I guess a large part of it is watch this, sure, enjoy it, but like this is guidance for. This is the direction you don't want to go if you don't want society to decay. So that's like, oh, okay. So actually, when you ask me about how does that communicate to the NI, it's actually really telling NI, hey, while you're devising your plans, what direction you're going, here's like a little bit of help. Maybe don't do that.
Data?
Maybe go this way. Yeah, it's data. It's honestly what to avoid. As long as I can see the connections. If I'm like, well, that'll never happen. I mean, could it's like if there's no logic there, like if I'm like, well, suddenly everyone will grow wings. It's like, well, okay, that's fantasy, that's sci-fi, but that doesn't make sense. Like there's just nothing currently in 2024 that is occurring that tells me that even in our lifetimes we're going to suddenly have wings. And I mean, how massive should the wings be? We weigh a lot. It's impossible.
Well, what I hear and what you're saying is, like, you see certain things, and then sci-fi is kind of saying, okay, this is, you can see kind of the path. Here is that 100 years in the future.
Yeah. And actually, I guess sci-fi. I do want to narrow it down though, because it's like not all sci-fi. I'm talking. My main interest is in cyber. I'm using the word cyberpunk, but I'm talking about like that black or the noir. Like what is it called? Like those movies where it's like people have like either AIs, something's going on with AI, or they have like augmentations, on their body, and just stuff that sounds somewhat reasonable and that is already occurring now, but is likely to occur soon. Not hyper speed and all these nonsense like things that don't even make sense physically. Like physics says no, but physics doesn't say no to us having like fake eyeballs or like some sort of enhancements. So those are the things I'm fascinated in. So I feel like it's like what's within my reach. And so I guess it is me somewhat limiting NI, but in a healthy way. What I mean by that is it is not healthy to think that we're going to have wings or that we're going to learn teleportation tomorrow. Like that is pure fantasy, and that's unchecked. It's just stupid to me, and that's FI talking. Just like what? No. Yeah, but I think what's more important is what to avoid. Like I said, and mentioning again, high tech, low life. It's like the decay of society, and this is something where FI does come in a lot. Where I'm sitting on the train in Seoul, I'm the only one doing this. This is very weird. I'm in tech. I'm a programmer. Everything. I love all this futuristic stuff. And yet, out of hundreds of people, I'm the only one not doing this with my phone. Why? There's some, I guess, the FI, just saying like, dude, if you do that, you're heading in that direction. And so something in AI tells me, the more we dissociate, and I'm an introvert, obviously, but disassociate with each other, like the less we interact or interface with each other, the more likely we are to head towards that low life, that society breakdown, that societal decay, which is interesting coming from me because that sounds like something FE should be concerned with. TE maybe a bit because TE does care about the group as far as getting stuff done, but more with FE I feel maybe, or should be a concern for FE types.
So okay, two thoughts there. I'll just speak to that. I feel TE actually really enjoys not having an interface. TE is a lot about like delegate and I don't have to think about it. And then I actually think FI might be the one that is the most concerned with this because like it's like everything's being dehumanized.
And that's why the FI is going to talk here. Why I feel like so good about myself because I have TE, I have FI, I have all these things that like I feel like everybody should want to have, all in my stack all under control. So the T is like, I know when not to interface and get stuff done, but I also know the importance of, hey James, how you doing today? All right, I don't really care, but at least I'm pretending to. That kind of thing. And then it's like, oh, our companies needs some vision. We need some guidance. It's okay. Just let me sit back in my chair for a few hours and figure this out. I can do all of those things. And then it's like, oh, Derek, the thing broke. What's going on? It's like, SE. I mean, and I don't know why. Just let's go through my stack.
Yeah.
I just like the combination of being able to do all those things.
That's good.
And
That's nice.
I don't know what that has to do with sci-fi or cyberpunk, but it's just like I feel sometimes like I'm, even though I'm organic, I'm pretty sure, 100%. I feel sometimes like maybe I'm not. It's like I feel like there's something special about INTJs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like that's just something INTJ would say, but like that's why I get excited because I like the NI, I like the idea of this. I like being able to see ahead of schedule, but it is also very scary. Like I said, like you said with the FI, it's like I know we're going the wrong way. We shouldn't do that, but who's going to listen to me?
Oh well, they will. They do.
They're listening now.
Oh,
I'm also a very paranoid person. So
yeah, I once answered a question. There was a question saying like, "What's the use of FI?" Right? What's the use of FI? And I said, without FI, there would be no individuals in society. Essentially, that's what I said. And so, it's in a way like I don't do it as I don't do this. Maybe I do. Well, I don't know if I do. But you reveling in your own individuality is a beautiful thing because it I think it reasserts and reinforces for everyone that's everyone should do that. Everyone should like love the fact that they exist.
I don't like to make those types of statements, but
I won't say
maybe that's if I were a person, let's personify FI, then yeah, that's probably what he or she would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess because I'm matured and I'm in touch with reality more sometimes. What I mean is like not with reality, just my FI is under control. I could be just it's my third thing anyway. It's like I could be running around telling everybody like, yeah, you should be going to go blah blah, but I know that doesn't work for some people. We literally live in a collectivist society right now, so that wouldn't go down very well. I'm not claiming individualism doesn't exist. In fact, that's something that's occurring here currently. There's sort of an uprising in individualism that the older people who are a lot of SJs that are just like, no, there's a lot of pushback from the older population. And so they're trying to squelch this occurrence.
Yeah.
Glitch there.
Yeah. I've also noticed. Okay. Individual stuff like I'll just say I've noticed that when I watch traditional dramas, it actually taught me a lot about how like there's actually room for individualism in the traditional culture, as long as you uphold the collectivist expectations.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
In fact, I would call that person a very good potential leader.
Yeah.
Because leaders, I feel like you have to be an individual if you're a soul leader. You can't be. Sorry, I was thinking soul leader. But obviously, if you're leading a group, they're going to want you to represent the collective culture. I'm blanking on words of what they want. So it's like, yeah, makes sense. That would make sense. However, if let's say you had a group, because you see I think the Matrix had one of the Matrix movies. There was like a group of elders, and they made the decision. So that is the opposite of what I just described. There was a small dabble. There was a dabble of individualism there because there was one dude, especially who I think he led all the elders. Like there was an old white beauty guy. Mm-hmm. I think he was something, but like you could, but it was still like the whole idea was like this is for everyone. Mm-hmm. So it's super FE.
Yeah, and I was just thinking. When someone loves their country, that is an individual expression of a collectivist ideal.
Yeah, but I mean, the military, there was that one guy who was like, no, this is what we need to do. And I know he was acting as an individual, even though he's representing the whole defense system itself. It was like, no, this is what we need. And then you got Baldy, what is Manifesto, Morpheus, he's all like, no, dude, I believe in Neo. He knows what's up. And the other guy said, no, how I can't afford any ships.
Okay.
You know, so he sounded like he was being very, very individualistic and everybody was against his thoughts. Yeah, and he actually never got his way. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's like that's my point. Is like the collective group decided what was best for everyone, and it turned out to be correct in a sense. Except Neo, acting as an individual, was the one who did it. He actually sacrificed. I think died. I don't know. Ooh, spoiler. Sacrificed himself or something. Actually, does he still live? I think there's a new movie that just came out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He lives forever. So it's like, yeah. Where am I going with that? I don't know. I liked the first movie. I hated the second and third.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch them again. After I've started the more I learn about the explorations of the mind and you, the more I see that it's actually a story about that. However, I do want to go back to I want to ask you if there's anything more you wanted to say.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff.
Okay,
it's like I don't have a direct.
Sci-Fi. Okay.
I find cyberpunk fascinating. I feel like I'm gonna have more to say later. I feel like I'm gonna because I mean I'm going back now. There are movies like B movies that I haven't watched that I want to watch. Like the quality is absolute trash, but it's like I feel like it's very important in order for me to feed and feel just to get the whole picture. But the main idea here is imagination. Movies that are imaginative, movies that are futuristic, that feed the NI. So it's kind of food, or in some ways, like I mentioned, candy.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of cool stuff there. I mean, a lot of anime, like Ghost in the Shell, for example. You have Akira. There's a whole, what is it? I don't have it in this list here, but I don't know, just a lot of anime that have followed this path, and since the '80s and until now, a lot of movies. And what's really fascinating is the older movies, the movies when tech was just a lot of computer graphics were just really, really odd CG being just thrown into a movie, cost a bunch of money. And then it's like you have these movies that make, for example, I think Terminator 2 made $500 to $600 million. And then you have movies that made like 6 million or something that completely bombed, but are now considered really good. I think Blade Runner was one of those movies, they spent a lot of money maybe, and it wasn't that popular at the moment, but now it's cult classic. Especially if you're into anything cyberpunk or just this futuristic stuff or AI or any of this kind of stuff, you may like it. And then there's a new version of it too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Growing up in the '80s, I feel like that's why this also strikes a chord. It's I grew up, watched some of these movies I shouldn't have been watching at that age, with these types of things like RoboCop I'm looking at now. What I mentioned earlier, was it Tron, which was a Disney movie, which ended up being really good. Akira came out in the '80s. Blade Runner especially. These types of movies. It's and CG was you know what I mean? It's it started in the '70s, sure. It was really just there was just this long throughout the entire decade and even into the '90s, a lot of movies were future focused.
Yeah, well, I can imagine I can
why?
hear kind of why.
Cold War ending could be.
Yeah, well, but also just the progress of technology was so fast that people had to ask the question, okay, what next?
And they were scared because people get scared when they see stuff happening faster than they can comprehend. And you said you have a thing, a mantra. Was it something about faster than you could think, or what was it?
Oh, don't you can't go any faster than you can think.
Yeah, and I feel like that the speed of technology is going faster than what people can comprehend. Sort of sounds like that, maybe not.
Yeah.
So people react in different ways. So maybe the entertainment industry is all right, let's come up with a way to visualize this so that you can at least, which still could be fear mongering, in a sense, but so that you can sort of digest what's to come.
Oh, absolutely.
Although, I mean, these movies, man, some of them are just so ridiculous, so outlandish, and yet what I find more fascinating is the ones that got it spot on.
Yeah.
And that some of them get it down to the year, 2012, or well, not 2012. There's these movies that are just and it's funny when you live through those times too. It's you watch a movie in the '80s, in 2000 something, you're you're a kid, you're 2000 whatever, I'm gonna get a flying car. And then, well, obviously we don't have that, but we do have AI is a big thing right now. And the reason why I tell people I'm scared, I'm not scared. It's do you realize what's happening right now? And I sound so crazy to these people. people. And then what's worse is being an NI Dom, I can't even explain what I'm thinking, so I look even more insane. And then it's like, what's going to sound worse is when I say things like this. Well, you'll see. But 10 years from now, or I say, well, you'll see in 10 years. But like the thing is, 10 years from now, you will see. And you're like, oh, Derek was right, although I didn't know what the hell he's talking about, and I still don't quite understand it. But here we are. Yeah. That's what I love.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, but if you have one for me, ask it.
Oh, yeah.
Where does this you've talked about Jung and stuff, and I see that you've made connections to what you're interested in, but like, do you have any interest in science fiction, particularly cyberpunk or these types of movies that I'm describing? Any books you've read or games you've played that have is this something that tickles your fancy, or is it just like, well, I get it, but
so I yes. To short answer to your question is yes. However, I think the way I engage with them is very different. And the, like, for example, the Matrix just keeps coming back to me over and over again. So I recently released a video about like 5 movies that like that made me question reality. That was my title for my INTP channel, and that's what I looked for in movies. Things that tell me a philosophical message that I can apply to my own reasoning about the world. So I think it's not so much looking to the future, but more understanding or providing a lens to apply to what I'm seeing.
So it's like, here's what's in front of it. Like, I think of it as like, you can put on infrared and you're going to see heat index. That's not heat. Right? But anyway, you put on different types of goggles, like night vision goggles. You can see, why can you see in the night? Why would it blind you in the daytime? But it's like, you'll see a completely different world that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you said lenses. That should be enough for the average person. But like, I like to try to visualize something more weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's like putting on that type of stuff, infrared, or seeing heat signatures, like Predator, for example. It saw different things. It mimicked. I don't know if you watched the movie. It would mimic human language. Like, they were just hunters. Like, and it was for sport, probably ESTPs, and they're just like out killing different, not just humans. They're going to planet, as if there's different life forms. Like, let's say they are, and they just killed and they bring the skulls back, and they're just like, hey, here's my skulls. What was I going with that? Cool movie. They see differently. They see infrared, so they follow. They can only see heat. They can't see what we see.
Yeah,
and I don't know why. But yeah, the point I thought you were making is different perspectives of the existing world.
Yeah, but so like okay, when I watched The Matrix,
mm-hmm.
and when I watched Inception, they captured me in a way where it was like, there's something here. There's something meaning. There's a meaning here, and I don't know what it is. I can't put it into words, but I just really want to watch it. And by the way, I think culturally this happens quite a few times, where there's just like some sensational piece of media that enters the cultural consciousness, and we all think about it at the same time. Anyways, as an INTP growing up, I questioned all of these different, like, now that I've processed it and understood it more, I can probably put words to it, which is, people were telling me what reality was, and I was always questioning it.
Telling you, that's fascinating. So to me, that's so. It's like, that's their reality. Like, how can they tell? Is that what you mean?
Well,
like,
yes.
How they see the world.
But see that like, if you said that like 200 years ago, people would be like, "But that's reality." Like, they would say that like you're an American. Blah, blah, blah.
Is that why there are so few intuitives now? Like 99% of us got hanged like hundreds of years ago. Like, well, that's weird.
Well,
you're dead.
Well, I think okay. I think there are levels of survival. There are levels of living, and intuitives are inherently destructive to the first level of living.
Somewhat.
It's like you're questioning what you're trying to do, and like, anyways.
But it's like, why do I like this word? I like the word destructive. I like the idea that I'm destroying something, but with the with the intention of making something better.
Yeah. So the idea of kind of like a wave comes to mind, where the sensors build what came before, and then we destroy what was built to come into like a different creation from a almost like a conceptual lens, and then that's built up again by the sensors. So it's like a cycle once again. Yeah. But the Matrix spoke to me, realizing unconsciously about this story, about there's someone here that's questioning what they're being told is the truth, and then the story of the Matrix is realizing you're not wrong, that what you're questioning, it's true that you should question it, and if you keep going down that path, there's something there for you. And that's what I saw in the Matrix, and actually every movie that I talked about, they were all about questioning reality, and they all spoke to me in that way, and that's very much, I think, the path of the INTP.
It's just sad that the first movie does what you said, but I feel like the second and third just poisoned it.
Yeah, I want to watch it again to see what I can understand from it.
Because like the first one made me think, and that's what I liked about it. I didn't care about how lame it was. Like, it's a very INTP movie. It's like, I'm gonna wear a leather jacket or the collar and the glasses. Like that's how I picture an INTP thinking what cool looks like. But like aside from that, which is very hard to like get past, like it is very fascinating. Especially the idea of like, are we in a matrix? Because I do that kind of thinking. That's very NI. It's like, what is really going? Like I question a lot of stuff too. So there's a lot of questioning going on there, while I'm like trying to come up with new ideas and trying to look into the future, so to speak. I'm also like trying to figure out like what is really, what is reality? I question a lot of not stupid. It's just not what I meant. But I mean, it's just Matrix. I don't know. Just watch it and like get what you get out of it. I wonder what a censor would feel. Man, they must really hate it.
Well, they just think it's like, oh, cool fight scenes.
Are they? Because they're not. That's what's funny to me. Like, I liked it because it was so lame, but at the same time, I was like, well, that is the representation of something that I can now imagine. So I would imagine something what I felt was better. So as long as you give me a jump off point, which is what a lot of these movies do, maybe not The Matrix so much, but like some of the movies that I like the most, it's like, it's not that I like the story they told. It's just like I like taking that story now and like applying it to my imagine, like what I think, or I don't know how to explain that, but like I just go much further, much deeper with it.
Yeah, I see.
I'll even pause, like if it's a movie I've already watched, I'll pause it and just like, okay, I'll come back to it later. I'm like, all right, this is good enough fuel for me. I'm gonna now imagine how this would go.
Yeah,
I've come up with game ideas this way. I've created games in the past with Unreal Engine and Unity Engine just based off of like, I watched something and I was like, oh, love it.
Yeah. What do you think of this idea though? Because I think it's okay. I have a theory about Korean media actually, which is that it's almost like Korean culture advances one like breakthrough media at a time. Like when a certain like movie comes out and it's like a big crazy hit, it's speaking something very important to the Korean public, and then they all think about it and they realize, oh yes, we should do something about that. For example, there was a movie about school bullying that was very popular 20 years ago, and then suddenly they're like, okay, yeah, this is an issue. Let's deal with it.
Yeah, that's. I wish you didn't say the latter part because I was going to try to give this an unbiased answer, and then but no, I'm going to get there anyway.
Okay,
it's like you're right. You said you have a theory, yeah. So if obviously I'm not to say it's right. That's how I talk.
Okay.
Collectivist culture. The way I see it is, it's like they might as well be clones of each other. Like, it's just how I perceive these things. So it's like one body, one mind. So when the media speaks, you listen. And the culture used to be that way. It's like the king spoke and everybody just followed. And that mentality, honestly, is for some reason very comfortable to Koreans. Koreans find comfort in having someone else tell them what to do.
Okay, maybe I wonder if what's actually happening is they're discussing and then agreeing, and then they agreed, and now that's
I really desperately want that to be true. But this, like the bullying thing, has gone on for a long, long time. In fact, you said 20 years ago, but like it actually was 5 or 6 years ago that it was actually finally starting to be handled. Places like Daegu, Gyeongnam, all these like some of the lower places. I mean, there are girls down there. The high school girls is beating the crap out of each other. Like the bullying is just out of control. But it was the same like 20 years ago. Actually, the teachers were still hitting the children.
Yep.
why was that not a problem until it wasn't? It's the same concept. It was always wrong. Okay, let me start over. I don't want to talk from a place of morals though. So you're INTJ. Let's say it was always wrong. What the point that we're trying to get at is why? What is the point in time when it's decided as a group? Now it's wrong. And then it just gets wiped out instantaneously. That's what's funny. It's like overnight it will go. That is I don't know if it's uniquely Korean, but it certainly feels like it is with all the countries I've lived in. It's the only country where this phenomenon occurs. And what I find to be the reason from pattern recognition is homogeneity, collectivism. A lot of that stuff we talk about, the SJs, and just everybody has to do everything a certain way here, and you can't think outside of that. And that's what's like. This makes me feel like I live inside a sci-fi movie. I wonder if that's why I'm not here, because I honestly hate being here because I'm nothing like them. Everything I do goes, especially as an INTJ, goes against conformity. And Korea, they might as well just call it, like, that should be the motto. It's like South Korea, the land of conformity, because it is fact. More than China. No offense. I'm not like making offense to China. It's like people talk so much trash about China. I lived there. There are more individuals there. There are people with personalities. So much cool stuff going on there. And it's just because that's what they like. Here, why are people obsessed with K-pop and drama and all this stuff? Because that's what everybody else likes. Why is there a line halfway down the street because a cafe opened? Because everybody else is there. They see a line and they go and line up. This is a land of lining uppers. They're followers. There are leaders here, very few, and those are the ones that have all the power because they're the only ones who are like, sheep, wolves and sheep.
As you speak, I realize that there is power in being part of the collective as well.
Yes, I wasn't speaking to that being the only source of power or the only position of power, rather, roles, if you will. Recently, I mean, I don't want to get into like the president and all that stuff because like power and numbers was obviously what caused that to.
I will say on this topic we just talked about, which is if there is a movie that's a big craze, the reason why it can have so much impact is because everyone will decide the same thing.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. When you said everybody's talking, like, well, that's maybe that is a part of it, but for me, it's more of when something happens, everybody does it. So if all it takes is one person to say it's somebody in a powerful position to say that's the one, everybody will go and see it, and then everybody will be in agreement. It's like a weird. It's literally couldn't be more like a sci-fi movie. It's like a weird brainwashing. You know, it's like what is it, Soylent Green type of situation, and it's frightening. But it's like I want to be there so that I can just see it happen sometimes. Although it is very damaging to me when I'm forced to conform, like coerced.
Yeah.
Again, as you know, I mean, even just the way I dress, being foreign is enough. Like here, they're so homogeneous here. There's so much racism here. Just looking different is all it takes. I could literally do my hair the same, dress the same, speak the language, but as long as I'm not Korean looking, doesn't even have to be like, you just don't look Korean, you will be treated differently.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak to whether that's good or bad. I will say that I've had very, very poor experiences. I'm not claiming that's right or wrong. Just saying that's what occurs in this type of situation.
Yeah, and I mean, I in my head, we're just talking about the same thing again, which is
AI.
Well, no, it's just there is power in conformity. There is power in conformity.
Yeah.
There's power in a cohesive in-group.
No, I don't disagree with that one. I don't at all. Do I? In fact, there's no like. What is the power of me not conforming? That's like this. Like almost looks like stupid. Mm-hmm. It's an act of futility. It's just I am me. FI tells me that's how I do it.
Yeah.
How I roll.
Yeah.
There's nothing like I don't want to change that, and I don't want to. I don't care if it leads to my demise. That's the whole. I was me the whole way through, baby. Authentic Derek.
Yeah. I think that is already a premature death. If you conform, then you're already dead.
If I conform, yes.
Yeah.
But in Korea, it's like conform. If you don't conform, I've seen it. I haven't seen people die from it, but like, I mean, I don't want to talk about too much dark stuff. Like a lot of suicides happen here because they can't fit in.
Yeah.
I'm talking famous people. People are like, you would think like, what? Rich, famous, all that stuff. All it took is one teeny tiny rumor that wasn't even true. Killed themselves.
Yeah.
I'm okay with talking about this stuff. So, because to me, it's the most funny.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't want to end like I don't want to say that. I don't mean it's funny. What I mean is like it's funny in an ironic sense.
Yeah.
I'm not helping myself. It's tragic. What's funny to me is that they will still continue this what I find to be a very stupid way of living, like conform or else. And it's like, but I see so many souls out there in Seoul that are desperate to be different, desperate to be themselves. Not different, sorry. Different in the sense of not conforming. Not because they want to, they're not like, oh, I'm going to go against the grain. It's just like they want to be themselves. And again, I feel like if I were to say I have a destiny, which I don't believe in that per se, is to start the tip of dominant. I don't know what word I'm looking for. Like I want to start something to help these people because they only get one life, just like you and I. If you look at it that way,
I
don't think it's a seed. This is more active than that. I feel. So because planting sowing some seeds while also advocating a little bit, just a bit, not activist.
Blaze the path.
Sure.
Trail,
or just open the eyes. I want that third eye to open, and not just that. It's the empowerment side of it that has nothing to do with seeds. Everyone has potential, but if it's being pushed down or squelched or the shadow properties are over, like they're running the show, that person doesn't know what they're capable of. I simply want them to know so they can stop feeling the way they feel.
That's very interesting.
Because if not, back to the sci-fi thing, social decay, cyborgs, and companies doing this. I mean, Korea is a perfect example. Samsung, LG, I mean, they run everything. They run the government, they run everything. Yeah. So
that's very interesting to me that I feel that there must be a lot of NI-DOMs in movie writing, essentially, because as things move, they immediately project into a sci-fi, like they see a certain sci-fi future and then they write to it. It's like, oh, things are moving this way. That's the movie I want to write. You know,
perhaps.
What did I want to speak to there? So not focusing so much on Korea, even though I think the impact that these movies have on Korea is a large part of the power is the collectivism. I do think though also, for example, like for me, I use the Matrix a lot when I think, and I think a big
movie
reason,
or the actual Matrix.
Like just the concepts surrounding the Matrix, where like conformity, forces that are pushing for a certain way of thinking beyond that, all the dynamics. And I've been thinking about how media has this purpose, and I also I think Jung wrote, people in Jung wrote about it, how artists are speaking to almost like the collective unconscious of their time period, where they're trying to show, they're like a mirror, they're showing people what is happening right now.
Artists are doing that.
And when I say artists, I also mean movie directors and things like that.
Yeah, I hope so. Because for me, it's like I'm future oriented, but I would really love the help of people who can, I'm going to use different words, where you just shove in the faces of people what's going on, because I don't think they see it. They're blind. They're walking around it's like they're walking around in the Matrix. And I feel like that's kind of what we're doing. We're waking up. We're Morpheusing their butts off. We're red pilling people. That sounds really bad. Because what's fascinating is red pill, that didn't come from Matrix. That came from, I think it was Blade Runner. I forgot which movie. It was like a different movie. Because there was a red pill that I forgot who it was that they took in order to come out of the man. I really suck at this. Like, this is like my topic, but like this is not my thing. I just don't care about knowing the names of things. It's just I know that was a concept that was in the 80s, before the Matrix. Because my understanding was I forget who wrote the Matrix, but he borrowed it. He was like, yeah, this is a good idea.
Well, I asked
Philip Dick. Yep.
Well, I asked if there was literally a red pill before the Matrix, and it says no.
Oh, it's wrong. Okay. I'll bring proof for the next one.
Okay.
I forget where I saw it or which movie it was, but my understanding is, from what my brain's telling me, is that I saw that. But I don't. Memories are very fascinating.
But you know, I think, I think, like, you know, when people talk, especially when they discuss things, they're going to use the matrix to help them think about whatever they're talking about. People our age, I think,
use the matrix. I mean, I remember a time.
Like, wake up, you're in the matrix, like, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, I guess, because like you hear artists say that, or maybe in the past, like, wake up. You know, I guess the idea is, yeah, people are asleep, so to speak. It's like the unconscious is screaming, "Hey, notice me." There's stuff going on, and they're just like, no, ignoring it. And that's kind of what I was talking about, like with social decay. It's like the more we separate ourselves from each other, and again, as an introvert, that sounds odd for me to even care because I like my alone time. But it's like the more people just spend their time on their phone, or they work from home, or like at a computer, they're not interfacing with each other, and just understanding what's like. Honestly, it's like it's weird that there are more S's than N's out there, and yet they don't seem to understand. Like they're not in touch with reality at all. And I don't even know how that's possible, or at least that's how it looks. Or maybe it's just like what I mean is like the depth. It's very shallow. And Korea of all places, if they're one thing, they're shallow. They're very shallow.
It's S. That's what they're using, I think.
I suppose. And it's fascinating. And I again, different topic, but Japan, I told you the top 3, they're all intuitive types. It's like ENFP, was it? INFP, and there was a third one with an N. I don't remember which one it was exactly.
And now that I think about it, actually, I realize, you know, Kukyo Yomu versus Nunchi. Like, I think Nunchi sounds actually very S, and Kukyo Yomu is very N, actually.
Yeah, that's fascinating because they're technically the translations for each other, like Kukyo Yomu, like reading the air as it's translated, and what's used more often is Kuki Yomenai Hito, which is INTP usually. They use that a lot, and then Nunchi, which is like, you know, I don't even know how to use in English. Like noon is eyes, and chi is like, I think chi that like hit with the eye, like send something. That is interesting too. I've never thought of it that way. In fact, that's probably why it's not intuitive for me to use Nunchi as much as it is Kuki. In fact, I'll use the Japanese term when I describe a Korean that's doing that.
Yeah, and I do think that there is a difference in kind of how each of those cultural things are employed, and I think Kukyo Yomu is more intuitive in nature.
It speaks to the majority. Also, there's also that. I mean, I feel like communication is built around to whom it speaks.
Yeah, and but I don't know if we have to talk about.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Tangents,
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. I like this, and it's something that I hope that we can continue to talk about, but we don't have to. It's just honestly, a lot of my life, I just realized, like, if I want to share something with people without really telling you too much about myself, and at the same time, you know anything about INTJs, you're going to kind of like, well, okay, that makes sense. I'm really into this because, you know, it's like what the future could be like. And it's honestly just, it's really a tool to basically say, hey, this is where we're possibly heading. Better do something about it. So what does that call it? Not a forewarning, but forewarning. I don't know.
Forewarning, foreboding, foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Yeah, I feel like there was a term I was looking for. Maybe there was one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I want to ask one more question.
Sure.
I'm reminded of what I think. Every once in a while, I wander into a certain part of YouTube where like they're like fan clubs and people talking about like different characters and what they're doing with each other. I characterize that as ESFP, where like I've met some people that have like collectors. They have collections of items at home, and like that's how they express who they are, you know.
But that would be introverted.
Well, it is FI.
I mean, I'm a collector.
It's FI.
I collect stuff that I shouldn't.
Yeah, well, SCFI. I think that's like expression of self, and there's nothing deeper than that. It's just they like it. I think. And
yeah, it's just there are some weirdos where like they feel like they need to share with other people. They need attention for whatever reason, but that's, in my opinion, just they're depraved in some way. Not depraved, deprived in some way from something. of it. You know what I mean? It's like there's attention seekers. There's even people who will collect and aren't collectors. So you have to know where the call the BS, and especially in YouTube.
Yeah, well, and
like I had the original Charizard. I had all of those Pokemon cards, by the way, and I don't really tell people. But then you have the people now, they're like, oh, there's $20,000 Charizard, and they're like, they like baseball. They're not even into Pokemon.
Yeah. However, I think
What was it?
I think it's an honest act of self-expression when they show their collection.
It is
ESFP. This is
ESFP.
I'm wondering if
I've
it's
known
ESFP.
some INTPs that have done the same. Like they'll have all their stuff out and they'll like invite you over to their house and they won't talk about it, but you can just see them like in the corner. Did he notice my 2014 edition? Like I'm thinking of a movie and I don't know which one. Like Full Metal Alchemist, like something collector's item in the corner there. That's who I am. I'm an anime. But it is in a sense. It is somewhat. That's why, to go even further, the really heavy otaku will wear like Zelda's t-shirts and hats, and like that's where cosplay comes from too.
Yeah. So I wonder. I bring that up because I think that's a very different reason to engage with this kind of content, and I wonder what you think about that. And
I would say there's a common space. I would put it in a Venn diagram, perhaps, where there are some shared reasonings for this, and then there are definitely there's a separation.
Can you explain what that
because
what
I do
that
both.
is?
That's why I'm trying to. I should be able to speak to it.
Yeah. What is that? Can you explain what?
The movie, the cyberpunk, the movies, and all that stuff is futuristic. So it's like it's imaginative. So it's not. Well, actually, I guess it is the same. It's probably just bringing what's not real into reality. It's like saying, "Hey, look, my brain thinks like this in the future. Well, here's a manifestation of it, even though we're not even there yet. You know, it's like I guess. Now, this is me trying really hard to like find an abstract.
Well, what
personal meaning. Why do I collect Pokemon cards?
Yeah.
I like looking at them because I'm psychotic. Like I would just look at them. Yeah. And I like having them, and I like completing the set. If I don't complete the set, then I feel that sounds INTP actually. I just like having all of them.
Well, it sounds.
If I had to tell you the emotion behind it,
sounds.
But I wouldn't mind if someone saw that I had them and said, "Dude, that's awesome. That feels great. That feels great." But I've never. You? Yeah. In fact, it would be very harmful if someone said, "Ew, why do you have all these toys?"
I like them.
Guess what? That person will never, ever, ever, ever come within 100 feet of my home again. You know.
But maybe I wasn't clear on my question. What
I'll try again.
What I was looking for, or what I'm asking about is, I mean, you're into cyberpunk because of the NI world that it creates for you.
Sorry. Yeah.
And I think that there is like the ESFP world, which is like. I like it, and so I'm into it.
I like it, so I'm into it. But they want people to know about it.
Well,
that's the SFP part of it to me.
I think
they're the entertainer.
Yes, and I also think it's just an FI. The FI is like, hey, this is me. I identify with this.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm having trouble answering is because I try very hard not to do that. Because I don't like when people do that. And if I'm saying I don't like when people do that, that's a shadow thing. That's me projecting.
Yeah.
Because I know that I do, yes, want to identify with those things.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer to your question is yes.
Well, yeah, I'm asking if you see the difference between how you engage with it. And I think
because they're extroverted. They want people to know and they have no shame about it. I want people to know, but I feel shameful about it.
Huh. Yeah. However, like the primary reason you engage with it is
pleasure.
The NI-ish. The NI part of it.
Yeah. I mean, same with like 1996 when Pokemon came out. Why did I like that over other games on Game Boy? I didn't even think I had a Game Boy. I got the Game Boy just so I could play the stupid game. Because just something about what it did that fascinated me to no end. I like games with leveling up. I like games with evolutions. I like change. I've always liked games where you can customize characters. There's just something fascinating about that with me. I love Transformers. Why? They transform. A lot of squares. I like squares. I don't know. It just speaks to me.
Yeah.
In a language that is only, native to Derek, perhaps. but I can't help but think that the person who's showing that stuff or really strongly not only identifies with it but does it openly, unabashedly, is going to be an extrovert. That's my theory or hypothesis, if you will.
Yeah, and I would guess that if you go to a Comic-Con, there's a lot of ESFPs there.
Probably, and now I'm just realizing too, like when I'm listening to like it's called PHONK music, funk music, which is like it might as well be the embodiment of cyberpunk / AI / it's like literally having a computer blasting into your ears. I feel so good when certain, I don't know if I'm gonna call it a song. Like I'm very compelled. I've talked to you about it. Like music is a huge thing with me too.
Okay.
And certain types of music, and it's ridiculously empowering. I mean, I know you see, like, why do people listen to certain motivational music in the gym? Well, yeah, because it makes them feel something. You listen to something that pushes hard, not love ballads. It's like I go to the Korean gym and they're playing like music that you would play like before you're gonna go to bed with someone. Like I don't get it. Like this, it couldn't be more demotivating. It's like I feel like my testosterone is just being sucked out of my body as I enter the gym. But very ridiculous digression. But it's like this music that's like I call it almost NI music. It just removes me from reality, but yeah, I'm still walking down the street. It's like, it's like that really nerdy sensation of I am Link, from Zelda. Or I can't think of a character. Like whatever. Like any of those people that do cosplay, like they don't do it. There's obviously people who do it for way different reasons. A lot of it's sexual or just for attention. Obviously. What? Like if you're let's say you're doing a Princess Toadstool, right? Very modest looking character. But if you have your body parts hanging out while you're wearing those costumes, that's not what she looked like. So you're not doing it like a nerd would do it the right way. You can add whatever touches you want to it. I'm just saying the motivation behind it is different. You can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah, well, I see ESFP, SCFI. I can see like I'm doing this because attention is part of who I am.
Why did small children when I grew up wear Superman capes or Batman costumes? Why do we dress up for Halloween? Some of it's for being frightening, and the others it's like I want to be Batman. I idolize this person. So there's some idolization going on there. That's why idols are huge in Japan, quite large in Korea. In fact, just a different way. Mm-hmm. I feel like it speaks to that. And actually, I would like to. That could be a test for you to figure out what that is psychologically. Maybe some books you're reading with Jung and stuff. I'm sure it's probably not a good thing. What I mean by good is like it's probably a manifestation of something that maybe that's a Freud thing, maybe something that just is lacking that you maybe need to work on. I don't know. It could be a shadow property or whatever. It could be something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's just for me, imagination is like where I live. So to sum things up. It's all about feeding my imagination, and it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, I apologize. You did want to go to a certain time length, but
I don't care.
Okay.
No, actually, I wanted to naturally sum things up and then end it, and now you've done that, so now it doesn't matter.
do you feel pulled in any other direction?
Nope. I feel pulled in 1,000 directions that I think will take a lot of. Either I do solo episodes or we do more together. It's up to you.
Okay. I did want to. I personally want to think more about that impulse though, because I feel it is just essentially what I want to do is I want to ask more questions to myself about the impulses and the meaning of life for ESFPs, because I feel there is like the whole concept of like a Comic-Con I feel is very ESFP.
No, it is. I mean, why? What's the idea of entertaining someone in the first place? Why are you doing that? Not to just pull out the terms from 16personalities.com. Just saying, like, SFPs, they want you to see them. They want to be seen, and they want to be seen in a good way. And they also want you to sort of be a part of what they're doing, feel what they're feeling, vibe with them.
I hear.
I guess.
Yeah. What I hear and what you're saying right now is that exchange in and of itself is a meaningful conversation to me.
Yeah, despite them not being able to really conversate very well.
Yeah. However, like
they're just doing it with action.
Yeah, like they dance and then you
sing or whatever.
Observe them dancing.
It's very symbolic. Symbolic.
Symbolic to us.
Communication. I mean, if you're dancing, you're not talking, but it's still
Oh, yeah.
technically in communication.
Okay.
Communication through dance. It's interpreted. Just like programming, we can communicate through writing a program, but it's still interpreted.
Sure. And there is just the pure sensual part of it.
Yep. 100%. Hence the S. And the F is the whole like everybody feeling how I feel, or I feel a certain way, and I want people to know what that is.
Oh, very interesting.
And the P is probably just the whole like, whatever's going on, let's go wherever.
Yeah.
Not just one direction.
Hey, this is the
And
this
the,
is
and
the
the
purpose.
E, and the E is like, I want everybody involved with this. I want to be involved with you. Let's do it. It all makes sense.
The sensing is the purpose. There's no other purpose for this.
Yeah.
Boom!
What a great conclusion to a sci-fi cyberpunk, like has nothing to do with the topic whatsoever. Podcast.
Okay.
So we'll be back.
All right.